Can you still hear that unmistakable swoosh of a brand new leather jacket sliding on, or recall the cool, reassuring weight of it over your shoulders on a chilly evening? In the bold, electric haze of the 1980s, the leather jacket wasn't just an item of clothing. It was an attitude, a badge of rebellion, and a look that shouted confidence from across the room. Whether it was the gleaming zippers catching the neon lights of a dance floor, or the scent of supple leather mixing with aquanet hairspray at a weekend concert, these jackets became icons worn by movie stars, rock legends, and hometown heroes alike. They carried untold stories of first concerts, late-night drives beneath glowing streetlights, and the search for a place to belong. Did you ever feel invincible, zipping yours up before stepping into the night? Or maybe secretly tried to imitate your favorite celebrity just by putting one on? As we dive back into the age of video arcades and cassette tapes, let's remember how the leather jacket became the symbol of a generation's coolest moments, because sometimes all it takes is slipping into one to feel those 80s dreams return. To truly appreciate the allure of the 80s leather jacket, we need to take a journey further back, tracing the roots that led to its unlikely domination of American style. By the time the first MTV video flickered onto a living room television, leather jackets had already traveled a winding road worn by heroes and rebels long before they ever shared space with synthesizers and acid-wash jeans. The story of the 80s jacket isn't just about fashion. It's about how a single garment carried the echoes of decades past, gaining new meaning with each era before exploding into the pop culture phenomenon we remember today. Long before you danced to Madonna or rolled up your jacket sleeves to look like Don Johnson in Miami Vice, leather jackets were synonymous with adventure. Their origins date back to the early 1900s, when aviators and military men relied on leather's tough, weather-resistant qualities during World War I. Known as bomber jackets, these coats shielded pilots against biting winds in open cockpits, their rugged design a necessity rather than a choice. Over time, returning war heroes brought that same spirit home, the jacket becoming a symbol of bravery and cool under fire. Did you ever picture yourself as one of those daredevil pilots, even if your only battlefield was the high school parking lot? But something shifted in the 1950s, a decade that planted the first seeds of leather's association with outsider swagger. Marlon Brando's smoldering presence in The Wild One and James Dean's brooding, unforgettable stare in Rebel Without a Cause both featured the now legendary black leather motorcycle jacket. This was a time when America, flush with post-war prosperity, was also beginning to find its youthful voice, a voice that often pushed back against convention. The leather jacket, formerly military apparel, was recast as rebel armor. By the time Elvis Presley swung his hips in a slick leather suit, or the Fonz smoothed on his trademark jacket for Happy Days, the groundwork for leather as the icon of rebellion was set in stone. Still, the leather jacket was not yet universal. Through the 60s and 70s, it retained an edgy allure linked with bikers, rockers, and anyone living a little too close to the edge. In the 1970s, punk exploded in underground clubs, and once again, the leather jacket adapted, now plastered with safety pins, painted slogans, and band patches. This wasn't just a fashion statement, it was a manifesto. The Ramones stomped onto stages in tight black jackets, their stripped-back sound closely matched by their tough, minimalist look. Do you remember seeing those album covers for the first time, the jackets practically daring you to try life a bit louder? Then, as the last echoes of disco faded, the runway cleared for a cultural collision that would redefine the leather jacket for a new generation, the 1980s. America was racing toward the future. Technology was transforming everything from the way we listened to music to how we communicated, and cable TV was giving us constant access to new kinds of heroes. The economy was booming in many places, youth culture was vibrant, and the lines between fashion, music, and film had never been blurrier. With each passing year, the world seemed to move a little faster, and the leather jacket evolved to keep pace. What's especially surprising is how quickly this icon migrated from outsider status to mainstream sensation. The same jacket that once got you suspicious looks in quiet suburban neighborhoods soon became a staple of mall clothing stores. Retail giants like The Gap, Wilson's Leather, and even Sears began marketing their own versions, promising anyone the chance to channel a bit of bad boy charisma, no matter where they lived. Imagine being able to buy something once reserved for bikers and rockers right in the heart of the local shopping center. Did you ever save up all summer doing odd jobs just to afford that first real jacket of your own? Another often overlooked chapter in this history is the influence of global culture. Italian and French designers, seeing the burgeoning appetite for leather, began experimenting with new cuts, colors, and luxurious finishes. What emerged was a diversity of leather styles for every taste, from sharp, minimalist bombers to long, tailored coats that hinted at luxury. It wasn't just movie stars and musicians wearing leather anymore. Your favorite teacher might suddenly appear one Monday morning clad in a striking caramel-toned bomber, or your most conservative neighbor might swap her wool coat for a cropped, fitted number. The definition of cool was expanding, and the leather jacket was leading the charge. But perhaps the most fascinating twist in the lead-up to the 80s leather explosion is the unexpected resilience of vintage. As new styles appeared every season, thrift shops and second-hand stores also boomed in popularity, especially with teenagers and college students hoping to snag a real jacket with some pre-worn character. Suddenly, jackets from the 50s and 60s, once gathering dust in closets, were being cherished, repaired, and worn, alongside brand new versions. The leather jacket was one of the first pieces of clothing to gain widespread vintage cred, admired for scars and scuffs as much as sleeker, factory-fresh looks. Looking back, did you ever end up wearing your dad's old jacket? Or maybe stumble upon a treasure in a thrift store that made you feel instantly transported back in time? As we step fully into the world of 1980s leather, it's clear how many layers of history and imagination clung to each jacket. They weren't just about looking cool, though they more than accomplished that. They were about belonging to a tradition, reshaping the past for a bold new future. But how did all these influences finally converge to define the unmistakable 80s look? What was it about that decade, the movies, the music, the mix of confidence and contradiction, that made leather jackets more than a passing trend and turned them into the very symbol of the era itself? In our next part, we'll slip further down memory lane to explore the unforgettable features and technical innovations that set 80s leather jackets apart from every style that came before. If you've ever wondered what secrets were hiding in every pocket, or how these jackets managed to be both tough and fashionable, stay tuned, because the best is yet to come. And as we zip up our journey through the story of leather jackets in the 80s, it's almost impossible not to feel a rush of memories, echoes of bustling mall aisles lined with displays, movie nights spent trying to copy our silver screen idols, and the satisfying heft of leather settling comfortably across tired shoulders after a long day. We've revisited how these jackets shifted from their tough, utilitarian origins to grace the backs of rock stars, heartthrobs, and everyday people who just wanted to capture a little bit of that era's restless energy. Whether you remember Michael Jackson's red Thriller jacket lighting up your TV screen, the fierce edge of Joan Jett's attitude, or the soft creaks of your own jacket breaking in, each story adds a new stitch to this rich tapestry of American style. The 80s weren't just about the look, they were about the feeling. Those jackets, with their oversized lapels, gleaming metal studs or colourful panels were the armour we put on to meet whatever challenges awaited us, big or small. Slipping into a leather jacket could transform an uncertain walk into a strut of confidence. Suddenly, you felt ready to take on the world, whether you were heading to a high school dance or just out for a stroll with friends. In a decade where everyone was searching for self-expression, the right jacket was so much more than fashion. It was a badge of identity, a subtle rebellion, or sometimes just a way to stay warm in style. And beyond the trends, leather jackets stitched generations together. Maybe you remember borrowing your older brother's or feeling a quiet thrill seeing your favorite teacher arrive in one. Some of those jackets even traveled from parent to child, gathering stories, scuffs, and the kind of character that only time can create. Looking back now, it's clear the real magic of those 80s leather jackets was how they seemed to hold on to the spirit of the times. The new wave beats, the neon colors, the wild freedom of pushing boundaries, all somehow preserved in the folds and seams. Today, even as styles change and the years add distance, one whiff of that familiar leather scent or the glint of a silver zipper is enough to send you tumbling back to a time when everything felt possible. Isn't it funny how a simple piece of clothing can remind us who we were and maybe inspire us to hold on to a bit of that boldness in our lives today? What about you? Does the memory of your first leather jacket still bring a smile to your face? Did you save up to buy your own, inherit a well-loved classic, or simply admire them from afar? Maybe that jacket gave you the courage to dance at prom, play a riff on stage, or just walk a little taller down the halls. We'd love to hear your stories. Share your favorite leather jacket memory in the comments, and let's see how many ways this timeless style touched our lives. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more nostalgic journeys, and share with friends who wore their own piece of the 80s. There's plenty more reminiscing to come, so stay tuned for future episodes where we'll keep celebrating the fads and fashions that defined us. Because sometimes all it takes is slipping on that old jacket, feeling the weight, hearing the old creak, to remember that the spirit of the 80s is never very far away.